Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining on time. This is the second session, but actually the third session because the first session was just a revision of all the even necessary even topics that you need to start learning German A2. So in today's topic, we'll talk today's agenda. We will try to cover adjective endings. So whenever you use an adjective in German language, the moment the adjective is associated with a noun, that means the adjective is being used in front of a noun, the ending of the adjective will change. It will change with respect to whether the noun is being used with a definite article, bestimmte article, unbestimmte article, negationsartikel, possessive article, or also if there is no article. So the if the adjective is between a noun and an article, the ending will change. If there is no article, then also the adjective ending will change. Also, it depends on which case the noun is in. Is it nominative, accusative, dative, genitive? We'll talk about all that. It sounds very complicated, but it is not. I'll show you how you can remember all the adjective endings in 7 or 8 simple rules. Then we'll talk about how to write sentences which describe a condition and then a consequence. So something like, I've written this here, blah 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 blah, then done, blah blah blah. It sounds something like, if you do this, then that happens, or when you do this, then that happens. Some people think wen in vein in German is that when, when of English. You are not wrong, but you're also not right. I mean, if you assume vein is when of German English, it's it's wrong. So you should think of wenn in German as a condition, as if. Okay. Then we'll talk about how you may wish others on special occasions. This you may already know from Duolingo exercises, but we'll just cover them because I think it's important that it's very at least once a month someone you hear a good news about someone from someone and then you want to congratulate them. Then we'll talk about this is A2, guys. So now you have to start learning more prepositions. For example, in A1, I believe the only preposition that you learned was few, right? Also, few other prepositions when it comes to time. But normally, one preposition that you learned was few, for, something like for. Today, you'll learn ohne and to, mit, two more. But as we continue, you will learn more and more prepositions. So ohne and mit are quite often used and easy also to understand. That's why we'll start with them. Then, if we have time, we'll go through some vocabulary around, I don't know, like 60, 70 important, I think more than 80 words that you think you should know. 80 words comprising of nouns, verbs, adjectives, and phrases if you have any. Okay, any questions? No questions? Let us start. So, yes, Sivamani, do you mind reading all the 12 sentences? So you have to read this one, then this one, then this one, then this one, and the next row. So, do you mind reading? Okay. Uh, who else? Rohini, do you mind reading the sentences,
Yes, I can.
please? When you read,
Nominate.
wait, don't
Yes.
read like this nominative. Just read the sentences, this one and this one. When you read, when you come to this, you say there and man, this part, make sure you pronounce it, you emphasize the ending. Okay, so this will
Okay.
be schlauer, this will be
Mm,
schlauer, this will be
mm,
schlau, and make sure you emphasize the ending. Please start
okay.
reading.
Ich bin der schlaue Mann. Ich bin die schlaue Frau. Ich bin das schlaue Kind. Wir sind die schlauen Personen. Accusative. Ich sehe den schlauen Mann. Ich sehe die schlaue Frau. Ich sehe das schlaue Kind. Ich sehe die schlauen Personen. Dative ist ich helfe dem schlauen Mann. Ich helfe der schlauen Frau. Ich helfe dem schlauen Kind. Ich helfe den schlauen Personen.
Thank you very much. So if you notice, when I say nominative masculine, it means that the noun is nominative, man is, no, it's masculine, and it finds itself in in 1 second. Guys, you have to start joining on time. Okay, if you join late, it's okay. Please join on time. Yeah, masculine, man is masculine, and it finds itself in nominative case. That's why we also have the article there. Okay, then you have nominative feminine. That means Frau, that is feminine, and it finds itself in nominative case. That's why you have the article the. Okay, neutrum, kind is neutrum, it finds itself in nominative case, so the article das. Plural, personen, nominative case, article is the. Here, the same sentence, ich bin der schlaue Mann, instead of the verb sein, you use the verb sehen. So now it becomes, now man is still nominal masculine, but finds itself in accusative case. So there becomes den. But here, instead of like, so the first row I'm using the verb sein. In the second row I'm using the verb sehen. That's why it is the object is accusative. Okay, the object meaning the object of the sentence is accusative. So there becomes then, and everything else will remain the same, right? We know that when you go from nominative to accusative, only the masculine article changes, the other articles remain as it is, right? The, das, the. Yeah, okay. And when you go from here to accusative to dative, so here I'm using the verb helfen. We know that when you use helfen as a verb, the object will be in dative case. If you don't know this, please ask, otherwise we'll skip. So here, them. So if we know that in dative case, masculine, and we know that in dative case, masculine and neutrum have the same article, right? Them. Feminine becomes their, plural becomes they. Now, this you should know already. If you don't know it, leave the session right now because you did not revise all the A1 topics. Okay. Now, if you have questions, you can ask, but I just think you should know this already. Someone left the meeting. Yeah. So now we're talking about articles over here, right? So the article, what does schlau mean? Anyone? Schlau is an adjective. What does it mean?
Smart.
Smart, right? Smart, clever, whichever you can think of, So uh, here, if you see the, I'm saying like, I am the man, I am the smart man or the clever man. I see the clever man, I help the clever man. Again, I don't think you will ever say it, but I have used this example so that I can explain to you the logic. Okay, so you see the ending is changing, right? You see the, let me just go to the next slide. You see the ending is changing, right? In English, we don't have this. In English, the adjective ending never changes. You say, I am the clever guy, I see the clever guy, I help the clever guy. There is no change to the ending of clever or smart. But here it does happen. And you can, crib about it, German language is difficult, this and that, and blah, blah, blah. That's how it is. Just accept it. In exam, they will look for this. Teachers are really looking for this, like, when do you make this mistake and when they can correct you. I think in real life it's not a big deal when you talk like, when you don't remember adjective endings. But when I say real life, I mean, like in the, when you just passed A2 and you're making such mistakes, it's fine. But as you go to B1, and if you still make the same mistake, it's really irritating, For example, when you pass A1, if you are making mistakes in accusative dative, it is fine. But after you pass, like, after once you are in A2, and if you and then you still make misgiving mistakes, then it gets irritating. The same logic applies. So, and of course now you have to learn how to remember all this, right? So first of all, this one you remember. Okay, so if as I told you that the adjective ending will change for best, like this is the adjective ending rules for masculine. So if you check, masculine is, if I go back, it is a a, similarly, right? I've just taken the adjective endings. That's how that's what we see over here, right? Okay, so this is how the adjective endings looks like. That means whenever you have an adjective which finds itself between an article and a noun, and the article happens to be definite, then the adjective ending rules are over here. Okay, we'll talk about how you can remember all this. Let's just continue. So here we were using definite articles. Now we are using indefinite articles. So, anyone wants to read? Please, you can raise your hand or you can start reading. I want to read all the sentences. The more active you are, the better, more benefit you will get from these sessions. Yeah, please, Karthikeyan. And
Yeah.
Karthikeyan, when you read, please emphasize, you should read like this: schlauer, schlauer, schlaues. In real life, you don't have to do it, but for now, understanding, you have to emphasize the adjective ending. Please start reading.
Okay. Ich bin ein schlauer Mann. Ich bin eine schlaue Frau.
Not
Ich
schau,
bin
not schau, schlau, schlau. There
schlau.
is L.
Schlau.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Ich bin eine schlaue Frau. Ich bin ein schlaues Kind. Wir sind schlaue Personen. Akkusativ. Ich sehe einen schlauen Mann. Ich sehe eine schlaue Frau.
There is a mistake over here, Karthikeyan. So that the plural is it just should be N over here. N
Schlauen,
here as
schlauen.
well.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Fine, fine. Yeah. Okay. Akkusativ. Ich sehe einen schlauen Mann. Ich sehe eine schlaue Frau. Ich sehe ein schlaues Kind. Ich sehe schlauen Personen. Ich helfe einen schlauen Mann. Ich helfe einer schlauen Frau. Ich helfe einen schlauen Kind. Ich helfe schlauen Personen.
Okay. Karthikeyan, you have to be careful. So you are saying Hilfe. It's fine, but it's not Hilfe, it's Helfer.
Helfe. Okay.
Okay? Yeah.
Ich helfe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very
Fine.
much,
Fine.
Karthikeyan.
Thank
So
you.
again, you notice, the adjective endings are different now. For example, if I go back, for there, it was A. Okay? Here for ein, it is er. Also, there is a mistake. Here it should be N everywhere. Okay? So there is a mistake. It should be N. Okay? Not A. Here in plural, it's always N. There is a mistake over here. So again, the adjective endings rule change. Okay? Yeah. I can also, think of examples where, so we read sentences with, like definite article, then we did with indefinite article. You can also, think of examples with possessive article and negations article. But I believe you understand the logic. It is time for us to look at the entire logic. So check how the logic looks like. Here, I believe the table is correct. Okay, yeah. So, uh, of course. So here, this table is for adjective endings for bestimmte, like adjective endings that find themselves between a article, a definite article, bestimmte article, and a noun. These rules are for adjectives that find themselves between a negations article and a noun. These ones are the same for unbestimmte article, indefinite articles. And here there is an L missing for possessive article. Okay. Now the table looks messy, but if you check, if you look at the color coding, you'll this will help you something. So if you notice, whenever the noun is plural, okay, whenever the noun is plural, doesn't matter for bestimmte article, negations article, or possessive article, it is always N. Okay, so whenever it is plural, okay, whenever it is plural, the adjective ending is N. Okay, here we don't have it because you never have plural unbestimmte article. Normally you just don't have any article. Okay, so and again, plural always N. Okay, the moment the noun is plural, it is always N. Also, if you notice, whenever it is dative, it's also N. Understand? Whenever it is dative, it's also N. Make sense? So plural N, dative N. Okay. Now let's talk about masculine. Masculine is, now here you have to also, one thing you can think of is there, right? You look at this table, this adjective ending, adjective ending nach dem unbestimmte Artikel and adjective ending nach dem Negationsartikel. Don't the table look the same? You check RNN, RNN, AAN, AAN, SSN, SSN. Of course, I mean, here you don't have the plural one, but like, so this part, the first three columns are the same, right? That means if you remember this table, if you remember this table, you remember this table, right? If I let me know if I'm making any sense or not. Okay. Also, if you recheck this table, negations article and possessive article is the same. Check, the table is identical. Okay, that means you just have to remember this table, nak, like for bestimmte article, and you can remember the table for negations article. If you remember for negations article, it's the same for possessive article, and if you just remove the plural column, you'll remember it for unbestimmte article. Please ask questions if I'm confusing you. Okay, so we only have to remember this table and this table. Okay, again, plural dative, plural n, dative n for both the tables. Okay, now accusative masculine is also n for both the tables. Okay, so plural dative n for both the tables, masculine accusative also n. Life is easy. Okay, feminine, check feminine. There is a mistake in this table. Guys, give me 1 second. I'll find some better table. I think this is confusing you. Give me, this table is incorrect. I mean, it should be. Uh, I mean, like no, it should be SS over here and A over here. Give me 2 minutes. I'll find a better table. Until then, I will have to unshare my screen. Yeah, 1 second. I'll stop presenting. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, please ask. Otherwise, I will find that better slides. Any questions if you have, please ask. Or else I will go here and find the slides from B1. I found the slides. Let me just go to the correct page. Okay. Yeah, found it. Let me just unhide them. Perfect. Now let us try to remember adjective endings. Okay. Please, you can do thumbs up so that I know you can see the screen. Yes, can you do thumbs up, or you can just open your mic and let me know you are able to see the new slides. Karthikeyan, can you see the slides?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Rishabh. Yeah. So, guys, pay attention. Okay, now I'm trying to help you remember, like, give you
Yeah, it's
some.
loaded now. Yeah.
Okay, Karthikeyan, thank you. So now you can, I'll like, you have this table for, these tables are for adjective endings. These ones are for those adjectives that find themselves between a bestimmte article and a noun. These ones are for those adjectives that find themselves between a negations article or a possessive article. And this one is for unbestimmte article. This one is for ohne article when you are not using any article. Okay, but you are still using an adjective that is associated with a noun. So let's start how we can fill this entire table. If you think about it, there are like 4 times 4, 16, 16 times if you think about how many different combinations are there, so you have like one table, then you have here actually two tables, but like you can think of them as one table. So one, 16 times 2 times 3 is 48. 48, then you have 4 times 3, that is 12. So 48 plus 12 is 68, right? So 60 different combinations. But we will try to, instead of remembering 60 combinations, we'll remember just 7 8 combinations, and that should help you. So let's start. So first things first, whenever you have an adjective that finds itself between a bestimmte article and a noun, and that noun happens to be masculine, and it finds itself in accusative case, you don't have to think much. Just think what the adjective and what the ending of the article will be. So here, if I have to write an article, it will be den. Here, if I have to write an article, it will be einen. Here, if I have to write an article, it will be keinen or meinen, deinen, n. So the adjective ending is also n. Okay, masculine accusative n. Plural, that again, genitive is not relevant for you right now, but you can remember, you can ignore genitive for now. Just focus on plural and dative. Okay, plural dative is always n. Okay, plural dative adjective ending will be n. So now we have only these ones left. Now let's talk about feminine. Okay, feminine, nominative, accusative. Okay, it's always a. Don't have to think much. Feminine, a. Okay, now we have only three blocks left, like three. Okay, nine blocks left. Three here, three here, three here. Nine blocks left. Let's talk about them. Let's focus on masculine nominative. Okay, masculine nominative. Here, for this one, it is a. For this one, it is air. And of course, this, I mean, I say, right? If you know this table, you can derive, unbestimmte article table is the same one as this one. You just have to remove the plural column. Now, how do you remember this one? How I told you that, if you want to figure out what is the adjective ending for masculine accusative, just think what the ending of the article will be, and the same logic you can apply to the adjective. So normally the article will be then, so the adjective ending is then. Okay, here I have want you to apply the opposite logic. So, or what I want to think of this is that for masculine nominative article, again, the logic that I'm talking, it's a stupid logic for idiots like me. Okay, it's a stupid logic for idiots like me, not like logic that teachers actually teach you. So here, masculine nominative, the adjective ending is a. Here the adjective ending will be air. Air. Now how you can remember this is this, masculine nominative bestimmte article, the article itself here will be ending with the sound of air. So the sound of air is not needed. So just a is fine. Now for these two articles, here the negations article will be kein, and possessive article will be mein, dein, sein, and so on. And here also it will be, ein. So here the sound of air is not there. So you have to add the sound of air to the adjective. Again, it's a stupid logic for idiots like me. Okay. So here it is a, because the sound of air is already there in the article. In these two scenarios, the sound of air is not there. So you have to add the sound of air to the adjective. Okay, we figured that out. Now, so for let's talk about neutrum. Okay, neutrum, you can apply the same logic. Here, for if I ask you what is the article over here, you will say the article will be ein, and here also it will be ein. Okay, and here the article is what? Das. Okay, das, right? If I'm not wrong. Here the article will be if negation, kein, possessive will be mein, dein, and so on. So here, if you notice, it is das. Okay, here it is ein, here it is kein, mein. So here the sound of s is there in the article. Okay, here the sound of s is not there. So in these two scenarios, you will have to add the sound of s. Here the sound of s is already there, so you don't have to add the sound of s. Just keep it as it is, or you can just remember this table. Simple, like like bestimmte article. Masculine neutrum aa, and for neutrum it is s. For masculine, it will be air. Any questions about the stupid logic that I just spoke about? Any questions? Okay. If you don't,
No.
okay, perfect. Let's talk about ohne article. Okay, I it's not needed right now, but let's just discuss it right away. Okay, normally we are supposed to talk about this in B1, but let's talk about it right now. Here, if you want to remember the article, it's pretty easy. So again, now you cannot apply the logic that, like I just told you, right? Like whenever it is plural, it is n. Whenever it is dative, it is n. Don't apply that logic when you are not using an article. So here you have to think in a different way. You just think what the article, you just think if there was an article. Okay, if there was an article and that article was definite article, what would that article will be? So I'm saying, to figure out the adjective endings, ask yourself, if there was an article and that article was definite article, then that will be there over here, the over here, thus over here, and the over here. Then, the, thus, the. Now what you have to do is, once you know that, think what the ending of that article is. So here the ending is air, here the ending is n, here the ending is a, s, s, a. Okay, this is how you remember. Or else you can just mug this table up. Okay, the same thing applies to dative as well. Check the article. If there was an article and that article was definite, it would have been them. So the adjective ending is m. Am I making sense? If not, please ask. This is how you remember the adjective endings for when they are used in front of a noun, but not after an article. Okay. Please ask if any questions. Otherwise, I think we are done with adjective endings. We can go back to our A2 slides. So, any questions about adjective endings? Okay. Let's talk about Nebensatz. It means, like, in English we have that main.
Sorry, I joined late. Just a question on the adjective ending. Can you go back to the slide? So for that too, it is n, not m. I was a bit confused there.
Wait, let me go back.
I'm just looking for an example of the dative.
Dative. Example. Yeah, I can give you an example. No problem. But like which case? Like bestimmte article,
Normally with article, the verb becomes them with an article, but in
no,
this,
you have to be
with
clear. So when you
adjective with
mean, you
the
have to check. You have to tell which case. Like, if you're saying definite article, right? So this is definite article. You have to tell me which case. So the article will
okay.
become them, but the adjective ending will become n.
Adjective ending will become n. Okay,
Yeah.
understood. Okay.
Yes. I mean, that's what. Let me go back. Where did the slide go? 1 second. Yeah, here. So whenever it is plural or dative, the adjective ending will be n. It's not about the art. I mean, yeah. Here only without an article, I'm giving you the logic. How can you remember the adjective endings? So I'm saying,
Understood.
yeah, right. You can think, if there was an article, what that article, and that article was definite, what the article itself will be ending in, and you use that
Okay.
logic for the adjective ending here. Okay.
So one question here: when we will have a use case to use without article, and when we use
Here, right,
with an
unbestimmte article.
article.
Here, so I mean, it's up to you, right? I mean, it's a language coming out of your mouth, so you decide when to use an article. But I can, tell you, for example, when you talk about, like, like things that are just one. For example, I'm working on a report. You know, so then you can say, but I'm working on the report. Now, you can say the or a report. It's up to you, right? For example,
Understood.
like the sun, like sun is the, right? Stars, for example, I see the beautiful stars. There is no article. Okay, in English there are, okay, the is there, but it's up to you, how you talk.
Mm-hmm.
Am I making sense or am I confusing you?
No. I'm just
Yeah. So it's up to you. Like, you have to decide where you can use it. Okay, let's continue. Let's talk more questions. Please ask. Otherwise, we'll talk about this Nebensatz with wenn, and dann. Now, no one is going to ask you what Nebensatz said, but just for some introduction. In English, we have this main clause, subordinate clause, right? So I mean, not one to, you cannot always think like, that's what, like in English this is, and this is what it is in German, but I'm just telling you something like that. So in English we have main clause, subordinate clause. Similarly, in German we also have Hauptsatz, Nebensatz. So if you look at this, this sentence, again, there is no example. It's just, I focus on grammar so that, because that's what I can do right now, and I can give you some examples later. So if you have a normal sentence, normal sentence structure, so you have subject, verb, and then you may or may not have an object, or you may or may not have an adjective. Examples, the report is blue. So blue is not an it's just a, you can think of blue here as an adjective. Or I see the man now, for example, or I write the report. Okay, so now the report is an object, not an adjective. Okay, so subject, verb, you may or, and when I say you may or may not have, because you don't need an object or an adjective at the end, because you can just say I drink, I eat, I sleep, I talk. In these sentences the object is not needed. But if you have, this is how the sentence structure looks like. And the verb will of course be conjugated with respect to the subject. Okay, let's say, you say something, and that is a condition for something else to be true. So you say, let's say you say, for example, I am good, whatever you say, I drink, I blah blah blah, whatever. But let's say if you say, you know hmm, you say a sentence, and that is a condition for something else to be true. So you will say sentence, and then you will say done, and then whatever else can be true. Now examples, it's always difficult to think of examples on the spot. you know uh, for example, I can say, you come to my house, then we will go to the office. Okay, right, something like that. You come to my house, then we'll go to the office, or you come to my office and then we'll go to the whatever restaurant, and so on, right? So here, but if now this is where, so this part will be considered as Hauptsatz, this part will be considered as Nebensatz. Not relevant for you, but what is relevant for you, when you use done, normally you have subject, verb, object. Here, see what happened. Here also you have subject, verb, object, but here the verb is at the first position and the subject is after the verb. This is what you have to remember. Again, in exam, teachers really look for these mistakes, but in real life, if you don't do this, it's fine. Again, it's fine to do mistakes in the beginning, but if you keep doing these mistakes when you reach B1 level, it's irritating. Let's talk about, so here you have subject, verb, object, or adjective, but you can have the verb and you can also have a modal verb, right? So when you have a modal verb, the modal verb takes the position of the actual verb, and the actual verb goes to the last position. Okay, when I say last, the very last position. Of course, the modal verb will be conjugated and this verb will be left as it is, or it is will be in its infinitive form. For example, I drink tea. For example, I program in Python. I can program in Python. So ich kann in Python programmieren, or ich programmiere in Python, or something like, sometimes you want to say, sometimes ich kann Python, I can Python, right? Again, in English it sounds stupid, but in German you can say, ich kann Python, so ich kann Python, or ich, yeah, I hope you understand the logic. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that, so this, here, how the sentence structure changes when you just have a normal verb. But here, subject, modal verb, object, adjective, verb. When you use done, again, I'm saying you provide a condition and then whatever the result will be. When you use this one here, check what happened. So you had subject, modal verb, object, adjective, verb. When you have the same sentence after done, the modal verb will and the subject will interchange their positions. See, the same thing happened. Okay, this is what you have to remember. Let's talk about, so for example, if I say, like, you come to my house, then we go to the office, or then we go to the restaurant. I can also say, when you come to my house, then we'll go to the office, or if you come to my house, then we'll go to the restaurant. Again, don't think of when as when of English. You can think of it, but it's not good. You should always think of when as a condition. Okay, if really have to think of something, think of if. Okay, so now When I use when, okay, if you check, now what I'm doing is that I'm taking this sentence, subject, verb, this one, the second structure. So the right side will remain the same, dan, verb, subject, object, adjective, dan, verb, subject, object, adjective. Now to the left side, I'm using the adding the word Wayne. Okay, Wayne, not when. Wayne. Like Bruce Wayne. Wayne. So when you use this one, subject, normally you have subject, verb, object, adjective. Here what will happen is that the verb which was at the second position will have to go to the last position. When I say verb, I mean the conjugated verb. So you have when, Wayne, subject. Now normally you have the verb, but it will not be here. It will be at the last position. The same logic, if I apply to this one where I'm using modal verb, so subject will remain where it is, and then you have when, and the modal verb or the conjugated verb will be at the last position, and object verb or the other verb remain as it is. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that when you use done, this is what you have to remember. Bottom line, when you use done, the verb, the conjugated verb, okay, the conjugated verb will be at the just after done. Okay, when you use when, the conjugated verb will be at the last position. Okay, done, conjugated verb at the first position. When I say first, first after done, and when I use when, the conjugated verb is at the last position. Done first, when last. This is what you have to remember. Any questions? Okay, please ask. You can ask any kind of question you can ask. I don't mind. Every question is fine. If not, let's continue. Here now, why I think this is important is that I don't really like to talk about phrases, but this, when you learn German, you think, I find it difficult to communicate, and I don't know what to say. But no one is expecting you to, like speak fluently, or everybody, or like Germans don't even really, they speak fluent English, most of them. Even if they say though they cannot, I think most of them can. So, but if you really want to practice German, you should not think that they are expecting you to speak fluent German, or they're expecting you to speak in German throughout. People say, now I want to speak in German, like throughout. From tomorrow I will not speak English. It's not going to work. You're just going to, like it's not going to work. What you can do is keep speaking English and start adding German phrases in between. For example, how you speak in your mother tongue with your family or with your friends, and then you start, normally, for example, when I speak in mother tongue, but I will always add English words in between. Like how when you go to a bank in your state, in your hometown, there you speak in your mother tongue and in English, together at the same time. This is what you should do. Now you should think English as your mother tongue, and German is something that like English that you can add any in between. So now these three phases, like some phrases, these three phases: ich finde es blah blah, ich bin blah blah, du siehst blah blah aus. Now, these phrases, why I'm saying this is important, you can use them when you are in a meeting. Let's say you are in a meeting and someone presents something, and you want to talk, you want to give an opinion, like how was it, and you want to say, I find it good, bad, excellent, waste of time, whatever. Okay, so you can say, ich finde es, I find it, and however you find it, you can use an adjective over here. Or ich bin, you can say, I am tired, I am sad, I am happy, I am whatever you want to say. I am late, I am early, you can say all those things. Now here, do these blah blah aus. This way you can, let's say if someone comes to you and asks, how do I look? You can say, yeah, you look good, do these gut aus, or instead of do, you can replace do with something else. The presentation looks good, die Präsentation sieht gut aus. Okay, but notice what is happening over here. What do you need? Here, this ellipsis, this three dots. To fill these three dots, you need adjectives. And adjectives, either I can give you a list of adjectives that I think I use, but it's not, it may help you, but what will help you is that you make a list of English adjectives that you use in your language, how you talk, and just find the corresponding German ones. And that's it. With these three phases, you can say a lot of things. Okay, so learn adjectives. Adjectives are going to save your life in the beginning. Please mute yourself if you're not talking. Yeah. So any questions about these three phases, what I'm trying to explain? Okay.
We have to find the adjective relevant to our life and then
Yeah, yeah,
place
of
as
course.
it is, right?
Yeah, yeah, as it is. So, you think about, you make a list of adjectives, how you want to say, or every day when you come, like at least for the next 3 months when you're learning German, every day, think about how you are feeling, I'm tired, I'm happy, I'm blah, 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 blah. Then add them. Okay. It's always good to, like, yeah, you can learn negative adjectives as well, like schlecht. Also, when you learn an adjective, okay, for learning purpose, when you learn something, learn synonym, learn antonym, learn 1 degree higher, 1 degree lower. For example, good, better, best, right? Good, worse, worst. You should learn like this. Okay, but that's what you are right, Rishabh. That's what I mean. Yeah. So if you know questions, if you have questions, please ask. Let's talk about these two prepositions, mit and owner.
1 second. Not the previous. The previous to previous. The when and the neben starts. The when and yeah. This when here meant if, right?
It's not a good idea to think in English, but you will be right if you think if. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it as a condition, because when sometimes it can also mean, that actual when, when.
Yeah, yeah,
It,
yeah, understood.
but
Yeah.
if is a better choice if I have to choose
Mm.
between if and when. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is important is that, now that you learn something, write some phrases, that you think are relevant to your life, that you think you may end up saying using when and dann. That is what is important. Okay. Let's say if you have a kid, you tell your, kid is saying like, I want a bike, you say, when you, okay, bad parenting will be, but if you want to put a condition, like when you do this, you'll get a bike, something like that. You can write that phrase. Okay. Let's say if you let's say for example, like now in March or April, like this goal setting in almost every company will happen, where you decide goals for the next year. And normally, one thing that happens is that, people ask like, boss, when can I get a better salary, what should I do? Then your boss will say, when you do blah 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 blah, then blah 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 blah. So when do that, like when you achieve these 3 points, then we can think about raising your salary. You can think like that if you are a boss. Yeah. More questions. Idea is that learn German for your life, not for someone else's life. Let's talk about prepositions mit and ohne. I always see the prepositions mit and ohne. Like I always use, or I always see it whenever I go to a döner or falafel laden, like shop, like not shop, but uh, a restaurant, not a restaurant, but like takeouts. Yeah, whenever I go, because whenever when we go there, the guy will always ask, was soll es sein, or was möchten Sie bestellen, or was wollen Sie bestellen. All they like, what do you want to have, or what do you want to buy. Normally you can say falafel tasha. I mean, of course you can order more things, but normally, like normally the two options widely of, like, asked options are falafel tasha and doner tasha. Okay. And the guy then says alles darauf means, like, everything, like, it's like a big sandwich, or like, and you add everything. And you can say yeah, or you can say nine. And when you say nine, then you will say alles ohne sweep. Like, normally I have seen that this is one that people always say, like alles ohne Zwiebel. Okay, everything without onions. Then also sometimes then the guy will say, mit tzatziki or whatever else. They'll say like ohne Zwiebel, but like, with this sauce or that sauce or that sauce. So mit and ohne you will at least hear when you go to a restaurant, a falafel stakeout. But this is just a short introduction. But mit ohne are very. What I'm trying to say is that you have to start learning prepositions now, and you have to start using them. This is A2, not A1 anymore. So let's talk about mit and owner. So when you use a preposition, what comes after preposition can be dative or accusative. It depends on the preposition. Okay, there are three kinds of prepositions in German. Prepositions, they are like, you cannot call them accusative prepositions, but for understanding, let's call them prepositions. They are accusative always. Then you have prepositions which are always dative. Then you have the third kind of prepositions where they are called as Wechselprepositionen. So they can be dative or accusative, at the same time, not at the same time, but depending on how it is used. And that is something you learned in A1, if I'm not wrong. We can if you don't know, let send me a message, I will send you the recording of that session. Okay. But so there are three kinds of prepositions: accusative, dative, and then vexel preposition. Mit is a dative kind of preposition. So after, when you use mit, whatever comes after mit will always be dative, and after ohne, whatever comes will always be accusative. Do not forget this. Mit and ohne are very commonly used prepositions, and if you make mistakes here, you are going to irritate me, at least in B1. So here, you see this. I believe you have six sentences. I want you to tell me how can I say them in German. So, yeah, who wants to start? So you have six sentences. You have to tell me how can I say them in German.
She works with me. I can see arbeitet by
No,
mir.
you have to use with these. I know by will also, but you have to use mit or ono. Yeah,
But I feel mostly a by comes
yeah,
the
by is
most.
right, but you have to use mit or ono.
Then
Because
it
if you
is
say
yes,
buy
she,
Mia, no, the reason is that if you say buy Mia, that means you are the owner of that business. I mean, not
mm,
always. I'm saying that, but that's how. I mean, if on a paper, that's how it will sound. Like not 100%. You are right. You can use buy, but here, for sake of understanding, let's go with mit and owner.
and then sie arbeitet mit mir.
Arbeitet. Okay, you have to
Sie
use the.
arbeitet mit mir. Yeah.
Yeah. Next one.
Yes.
Sie kann ohne mich arbeiten.
Correct. Sie kann ohne mich arbeiten. Notice,
Yeah.
mit Mia ohne mich. Dative. With mit, it was dative, so Mia. With ohne, it was accusative, so mich. Continue.
Ja, wie kann ich ohne dir gehen?
No, not dia. Not dia. Dich.
Wie kann ich,
Ohne dich, ja.
wie
It's
kann ich,
accusative, yeah.
Yeah. Now, depending, now, because this is only like, I'll try to correct whatever I can. So, depending on where you live, people have different way of pronouncing things. So, you said one, it's fine. Maybe in your city, that's how they talk. But if in my city, we'll learn owner. Also, Hochdeutsch is owner. You don't say one, you say owner. But if you say one, it's fine. That's not a problem. Yeah. Continue.
I think that's correct because my son always tried to correct me that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because, okay. And you have to be, because not, by reason I say that, you can, the thing is, the moment you start speaking, people have a judgment of you, they have like, they think whether you can
I think
speak or
the
not.
A is written, but it is not really pronounced, right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But what I'm trying to say is
willst
that,
du,
what I'm trying to say is that when you say something, pronounce something incorrect, the other guy thinks you cannot speak German. And it was just one pronunciation. Okay, we'll talk about this later. Continue. Yeah. How do you say, do you want to go with me? Yeah.
willst du mit mir gehen?
Correct. Mit me again. Next one. Come on. This is something that will be important when you are attending the final round of a job interview, where you talk about salary with the variable part, without the variable part. Like the for example, the company will say 65,000 with the variable part, and you say no, 64,000 without the variable part. When you are bargaining about your salary. Continue. How do you say this? You have to tell me, how do you say part? Those who are working, if you don't know this, you should be really sad if you don't know how to say this in German. How do you say variable part? How do you say part? How do you say part of something? Come on, how do you say part?
Teil,
Tail.
Tile. Tile. And how do you say variable? It's an adjective in German.
variabler Teil,
Variable. You are right, Rishabh. You
variable,
have to
right.
pronounce it like that. Now here, be careful. Now this is something. Now we are using all this adjective ending. You just learned, right? So you have to use the correct adjective for
Right,
var.
right.
Yeah. What will be the adjective ending here for variable?
Er,
Why do you want to make me angry at 7 a.m. in the morning, Rishabh? It's dative. What is the adjective ending? Remember, plural, dative, adjective ending always.
It will be N.
Yes, so it is n. This is how you learn. So here are the answers. See, see, Karthikeyan, you can read all these sentences if you don't mind.
Yeah.
The green
Yes.
ones.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Sie arbeitet mit mir. Sie kann ohne mich arbeiten. Wie kann ich ohne dich gehen?
Karthikeyan, you're also saying Ona. If it's say it Ona, it's if it's that also in your city, but be careful what I'm saying.
Okay. So how can we pronounce
Oh,
ohne or ohne?
oh no, oh no,
Ohne. Ohne. Ohne.
yeah,
Correct? Ohne.
yeah,
Okay. Willst du mit mir gehen?
yeah. Come
Oh,
on, you should read this number.
oh, oh.
How will
Fun
you?
fun
Yeah.
Yeah, for section 1000. Yeah.
fun fun 6,000 mit dem variablen Teil.
No, no, you have to read it like a German. No, the thing is, like German is a phonetic language, so you never have to guess. So, for that means this is a, this is
Variable.
also a.
Okay.
So variablen. Don't try to
Variablen
variablen.
Teil.
Yeah.
Okay. Fun 6,000
Not
1000
sechs.
mit dem
But again, this is 65, this is 64,000.
okay, okay, sorry. First, this one only I read. Okay. Okay, last one I will read. Okay. 64,000 ohne den variablen Teil.
Not sechzig.
6.
Okay.
Okay.
Why I'm saying this, like when you talk about numbers is very important. Sometimes in bank, if you make a mistake, you may, what I'm saying. So be careful with numbers, especially when like
Okay.
numbers, like when you're talking about money. Also, one thing I want to notice is that in English we write comma, right? After three zeros, after thousand we write comma. Here in German
Correct.
we write point. Okay. Also, so in English, wherever you write comma, like numbers, in currency, when you write comma, in German you replace with point. So for example, if I have to write percentages, again, many of you know this already, but for those who are not in Germany right now, just for them, if I have to write percentage, right, 86.79%, right, this is English. In German, it will be 86,79. Okay, just be careful with this one. Okay, this is how it is. Okay, if I have to write a big number, for example, no, for example, 1000.98, this is English. In German, it will be 1,000, comma 98. So be careful. Okay, I have never signed a check in German, but if you have to do it, be careful. Yeah, yeah. So also, yeah. This is a note. Let's ignore these notes. No problem.